It starts so quietly, you almost don't notice it. One morning, you stand up from the couch and feel a little less steady. A few days later, you forget where you placed your reading glasses, again. Then comes the night you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't fall asleep. You chalk it up to just getting older. Your friends say the same thing. Your doctor might even nod and tell you it's normal. But what if it's not? What if the way you're aging isn't inevitable, but instead optional? Because here's the truth. Not everyone over 70 experiences these changes. Some people still walk a mile each morning, sleep through the night, and remember every grandchild's birthday without a second thought. And that's not luck. It's biology, combined with a few small, powerful habits. In this video, we're going to explore 5 quiet but remarkable signs that your body and brain are not aging the way most people expect. Some of them might surprise you. And one of them, especially number 3, is something even your doctor might overlook. So stay with me, because by the end, you may realize you're not just getting older. You might be growing stronger. 1. You can get up from a chair without using your hands. It usually happens without much thought. You're sitting in your favorite recliner, maybe flipping through the morning paper or watching the evening news. At some point, it's time to get up, maybe to grab a glass of water or answer the phone. But instead of rising with ease, you find yourself pushing off the armrests, maybe even needing a second try. You feel a little slower than you used to, a bit unsteady. And because it's not painful or dramatic, you let it slide. Well, you tell yourself, this is just part of getting older. But what if it isn't? What if needing your hands to get out of a chair isn't just about age, but about something you can change? See, most people think this is normal after 70. But in truth, the ability to rise from a chair without using your hands is one of the clearest indicators of your lower body strength, coordination, and independence. And more importantly, it's one of the strongest predictors of how well you'll continue to age. Let's break this down. When you sit and stand without using your hands, you're engaging your quadriceps, front of your thighs, glutes, your backside, and core muscles. These muscles work together to lift your body smoothly. But as we age, especially after 60, we naturally start to lose muscle mass. This process, called sarcopenia, begins quietly. About 3 to 5% of muscle is lost every decade after 30, and the rate speeds up after 65. If left unchecked, this leads to weakness, instability, and a higher risk of falls. And here's where it gets serious. Not being able to stand without help doesn't just make daily life harder, it also signals increased risk for loss of independence and even earlier mortality. Research has shown that difficulty rising from a chair is linked to future mobility issues, hospitalization, and in some studies, even cognitive decline. But here's the good news. It's not too late to improve it. There's a simple exercise called the sit to stand that can help. No equipment, no gym, no pressure. Here's how it works. Find a sturdy, armless chair and sit in the center with your feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart. Cross your arms over your chest. Now, stand up without using your hands, then slowly sit back down. That's 1 rep. If you can't do it without your hands yet, that's okay. Start with light support and gradually reduce it. Try doing this movement 5 times in a row, once or twice a day. Over time, you'll build strength in your legs and hips, and improve your balance and confidence. Even just practicing this while waiting for the coffee to brew or during TV commercials can make a difference. The beauty of this habit is that it's practical. You're not exercising for exercise's sake, you're training for real life. Every time you get stronger at this, you're giving yourself more freedom. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 76-year-old woman from Ohio. A year ago, she realized she had started avoiding her front porch steps and was using her arms to push herself up from every chair. Her daughter gently pointed it out and helped her start the sit-to-stand routine. At first, Margaret could barely do one without grabbing the table for support. But she kept at it. A few weeks later, she could do 3, then 5. Now she does 10 every morning, and she's back to gardening, even kneeling and getting up by herself. Her confidence came back, not just physically, but emotionally too. Margaret said something that stayed with me. I didn't realize how much of myself I had slowly given up, until I got it back. So if you find yourself needing that little push from the chair, don't brush it off. Don't assume it's just age winning. This one motion says more about your strength and your future than you might think. You deserve to stand tall on your own. And you can. Start small. Stay steady. And remember, every time you rise without help, you're reminding your body and your spirit that you're still strong, still capable, and still very much alive. 2. You can remember names, dates, and details. It's a moment most people over 65 have experienced at some point. You're in the middle of telling a story. You can see the scene so clearly in your mind, but suddenly the name won't come. Maybe it's someone from church or an old neighbor you used to chat with every morning. You remember the laughter, the details, even the smell of their coffee. But the name? It's gone. Or you're talking to your grandson, and he's telling you about his school project. You're listening, fully present. But later that day, when someone asks what he's working on, the details have slipped away like mist. These things happen, and we've been told it's normal. That's just aging, they say. Everyone forgets a few things now and then. And yes, some memory changes are a natural part of growing older. But here's the question. What if forgetting names, dates, and little details isn't just about getting older? What if remembering them is a sign of something powerful, something worth noticing and preserving? The ability to remember specific information, like someone's name, a birthday, or even what you ate for lunch yesterday, is tied to what scientists call episodic memory. It's your brain's way of recording the details of your life like a diary. And surprisingly, it's not guaranteed to fade just because you've passed a certain age. Many older adults maintain sharp memories well into their 80s and 90s. And here's why: the brain is not a muscle, but it acts like one. The more you use it, the more connections it builds. Those connections, called synapses, are how information gets stored and retrieved. When we stop challenging our brains, those connections weaken. But when we stay mentally active, emotionally engaged, and socially connected, our memory stays stronger. What causes that tip of the tongue feeling? Often, it's not about memory loss, it's about retrieval. You know the name, the fact, the detail. It's in there. But it's like trying to find your keys in a cluttered drawer. Your brain is still capable. It just needs better organization and attention. Stress, fatigue, isolation, and even dehydration can affect short-term recall. But the good news is, that memory is something you can nurture. And it doesn't require crossword puzzles or brain games, unless you enjoy them. Sometimes, the best exercises are the simplest and the most personal. Here's a gentle but powerful habit to start today. Tell a story every day. Pick one moment from your past, a vacation, a meal, a funny accident, and share it with someone. It could be over the phone, around the dinner table, or even recorded on a voice memo. Include names. Include dates. Describe what people were wearing or what the weather was like. Why does this work? Because storytelling activates multiple parts of your brain at once. Memory, language, emotion, and even imagination. It's like lighting up a room with several lamps instead of one. And by including personal details, you train your brain to hold on to them. Another simple practice? Say names out loud. When you meet someone new or talk to someone familiar, repeat their name a few times. Hi Susan, nice to see you. Thanks, Susan. That was helpful. This helps move the name from short-term memory into long-term storage. Let me share a story with you. Frank is 81 years old and lives in Pennsylvania. A retired firefighter, he's always had a sharp mind. But a couple of years ago, he noticed he was forgetting names more often. His daughter gently encouraged him to start writing short memories in a journal, just 2 or 3 sentences a day. At first, he wrote about old calls he responded to, then about his wife, his kids, and the dog they had in 1969. Before long, Frank was recalling things he hadn't thought about in decades. And something unexpected happened. His day-to-day memory got sharper too. Remembering the past was helping him stay rooted in the present. He says, "It's like my memories were dusty, and writing them down wiped them clean." Now, Frank leads a weekly storytelling circle at his local senior center. Each person takes a turn sharing a memory, and they all practice remembering details. Names, dates, street names, songs. They laugh a lot. And nobody feels like they're slipping. So if you're someone who still remembers your neighbor's dog's name from 1983, or what your husband wore on your first date, don't downplay it. That memory strength isn't just hanging on. It's a sign that your brain is still sharp and responsive. That's not luck. That's a reflection of how you live. And if you've started to feel those names or facts slipping more often, it's okay. Don't panic. Don't blame yourself. Just start with one thing. Share one memory today. Not to test your memory, but to nourish it. You've lived through decades of rich, meaningful moments. Every name, every birthday, every detail you remember, that's not trivial. That's legacy. And here's the most powerful thing to remember. Memory isn't just about the past. It's a way of staying connected to who you are. So speak your stories. Say the names. Share the details. You are not fading. You are remembering, and that is a gift. 3. You can walk a mile without feeling worn out. There's something deeply familiar about taking a walk. Maybe you used to walk the dog every morning. Maybe you strolled around the block with your spouse after dinner. Or maybe you just enjoyed the feeling of your feet moving beneath you and the quiet rhythm of your breath in sync with the world around you. But for many people over 65, something shifts. That easy walk becomes shorter. A trip to the mailbox feels longer than it used to. You notice your legs getting tired faster, or your breath catching more quickly. You stop halfway up the driveway, not because you want to, but because you have to. And you tell yourself, well, that's just part of getting older, right? But here's a question worth asking. What if it's not just age? What if your ability, or inability, to walk a full mile without feeling exhausted is telling you something far more important about your health? Because here's the truth. The ability to walk a mile comfortably and confidently is one of the most powerful signs of how well your heart, lungs, muscles, and even brain are functioning. It's more than just mobility. It's a snapshot of your biological resilience. Doctors often call walking a vital sign. It tells them a lot about your cardiovascular health, your respiratory efficiency, your joint function, and even your life expectancy. Studies have shown that walking speed and walking endurance are closely tied to how long and how well people live. When you walk, your heart pumps more blood, your lungs take in more oxygen, and your muscles coordinate to keep you upright and balanced. It's not just a leg activity, it's a full-body symphony. Now, here's the challenge. As we age, we naturally lose some muscle mass, especially in the legs and hips. Our circulation may not be as strong. We might feel stiffer in the joints or notice our posture slouching a bit more. All of these small changes add up, and they make walking feel harder than it used to be. But that doesn't mean you have to stop. It means the opposite. If you can still walk a mile without stopping to rest, without pain, without gasping for breath, that's not just good for your age. That's exceptional. And if you can't walk a mile yet, here's the best part. It's something you can work toward, one gentle step at a time. Start simple. Pick a safe, flat route. Maybe a quiet sidewalk or even a local mall. Time yourself walking for 5 minutes at a relaxed pace. Don't worry about distance. Just notice how you feel. Then, the next day, try 6 minutes. The goal isn't speed. It's consistency. Over a few weeks, most people are surprised by how quickly their endurance grows. Another gentle tip. Swing your arms when you walk. It helps with balance and gives your core muscles a little workout too. Breathe naturally. Let your shoulders relax. And most importantly, enjoy it. Walking is one of the few exercises that doesn't require equipment, money, or a schedule. Just shoes and a little motivation. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold is 79 and lives in a small town in Montana. A few years ago, he noticed he was getting winded just walking around the grocery store. He started using the shopping cart as a walker, even though he didn't need it. His daughter, a nurse, encouraged him to start a walking routine, but he was hesitant. "I'm too old for that," he'd say. "I've earned the right to sit down." But one morning, he challenged himself. He walked to the end of his street and back. It took 10 minutes and left him sore, but also proud. The next day, he went a little farther. By the end of the month, Harold was walking a full mile around the local park 3 days a week. Today, he's back to mowing his lawn, doing light gardening, and walking to the post office on foot. Harold says, "I didn't realize how much I missed feeling strong until I started feeling it again." That's the thing. Walking gives more than it takes. It lifts your mood, clears your mind, strengthens your heart, helps you sleep better. Some studies even suggest regular walking helps maintain memory and reduce the risk of cognitive decline. But beyond all the science, walking gives you back something deeply human: momentum. It helps you feel like you're still moving forward, in motion, a part of the world. So if you're someone who can still walk a mile, celebrate that. Truly. That's not something every 70 or 80-year-old can say. That's not just a sign of good health. That's a sign of inner strength. And if you're not there yet, start with a single minute. Then 2. Then 5. Don't compare yourself to the past. Compare yourself to yesterday. Every step counts. You've walked many miles in your life, through hard times, through joy, through change. And those miles shaped the person you are. Now you have the power to keep walking into the future, with strength, with intention, and with grace. Because walking a mile isn't about proving something to anyone else. It's about showing yourself what you're still capable of. So lace up your shoes, take a deep breath, and step out into the day. Even one block can lead to a new beginning. And remember, every mile walked after 70 is a quiet declaration: I'm still here. I'm still strong. And I'm still going. 4. You sleep through the night, peacefully. It's 2:37 a.m. The room is quiet. Too quiet. You open your eyes and stare at the ceiling. Again. You try turning onto your side. You fluff the pillow. Maybe you get up and shuffle to the bathroom, not really because you need to, but because you're awake. You glance at the clock, counting how many hours are left before the sun rises, hoping, just hoping, you'll drift back to sleep. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Millions of older adults struggle with sleep that used to come so easily. A full night's rest, once taken for granted, now feels like a distant memory. We're told, that's just what happens when you get older. Light sleep, early waking, frequent trips to the bathroom. But is it just age? What if waking up at 2 or 3 a.m. isn't inevitable? What if sleeping through the night peacefully is still possible, even in your 70s, 80s, and beyond? Here's the truth. While changes in sleep patterns are common with age, they're not always natural, and they're not always harmless. Sleeping soundly through the night is more than a comfort. It's a reflection of your nervous system, your hormone levels, your stress, your habits, and your overall health. Sleep is when your body heals. It's when your brain clears out waste, resets memory pathways, and repairs cells. Think of it like housekeeping for your entire system. Missing deep sleep isn't just tiring, it affects mood, memory, immunity, and even heart health. So why does sleep become harder as we age? Several reasons. Melatonin production, the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep, decreases. Our internal body clocks, called circadian rhythms, may shift, making us sleepy earlier in the evening and more alert in the early morning. Add to that chronic aches, more frequent urination, anxiety, or medications that interfere with sleep, and suddenly 8 hours becomes 4. But here's something important. Some people in their 70s and 80s still sleep deeply, every night. What's their secret? It's not just luck, it's small, intentional habits that protect and support the body's natural rhythm. And most of them don't require pills or fancy gadgets. They start with simple awareness. Here's a routine that's helped many older adults return to deeper, more restful sleep. 1. Keep a consistent bedtime, even on weekends. Your brain thrives on routine. Going to bed and waking up at the same time each day helps anchor your internal clock. 2. Create a wind-down ritual. Turn off the TV, dim the lights, and give yourself 30 to 60 minutes of calm before sleep. Read a physical book. Listen to soft music. Do some gentle stretching. Let your body understand that it's time to slow down. 3. Limit fluids after dinner. Nighttime bathroom trips are a major culprit of interrupted sleep. Try drinking more during the day and taper off after 6 p.m. 4. Let the light in early. Morning sunlight helps reset your biological clock. Open the blinds. Step outside with your coffee. Even 10 to 15 minutes can help your body recognize when it's time to be awake and when it's time to rest. 5. Skip the late-night news. We all want to stay informed, but watching upsetting headlines before bed can stir anxiety. Save the news for daytime. Let your evenings be for peace, not tension. Let me tell you about Ellen. She's 82 and lives alone in Florida. For years after her husband passed, she struggled with sleep. She'd fall asleep watching TV, wake up at 1 a.m., and spend hours tossing and turning. Her doctor suggested melatonin, but it only helped a little. What finally made a difference? She created what she calls her sleep sanctuary. No screens after 8 p.m., a lavender candle near her reading chair, and an old jazz playlist she plays softly as she gets ready for bed. She starts her mornings by sitting on her porch with tea in hand, soaking up the morning light. Within 3 weeks, she was sleeping 7 hours straight, something she hadn't done in a decade. She says, "I don't just sleep better, I feel like myself again." The truth is, good sleep isn't about more effort. It's about less interference. Removing just a few of the modern distractions and returning to rhythms your body already knows can make a huge difference. If you're someone who can still sleep through the night without tossing, without waking, without feeling exhausted in the morning, that's not something to overlook. That's a powerful sign that your body is working with you, not against you. It means your hormones, your nervous system, and your mind are finding harmony. But even if that's not where you are right now, don't give up. Start small. Adjust just one part of your evening. Turn off the lights earlier. Try a calming tea like chamomile. Keep a simple journal where you write one thing you're grateful for before bed. Not to fix everything overnight, but to signal to your mind, we're safe. We can rest. Because restful sleep isn't just about comfort, it's about healing. And healing isn't something you grow out of, it's something you still deserve. So the next time you find yourself lying awake in the early hours, be kind to yourself. And remember, peaceful sleep is not a luxury of the young. It's the right of every age. And if you're already sleeping through the night, night after night, that's not ordinary. That's resilience. That's your body saying, I'm still strong. I'm still steady. I still know how to rest and rise. You've earned that peace. Now let it carry you, gently, into another day. 5. You still feel curious, hopeful, and driven. Some people say that getting older means slowing down, not just in body, but in spirit. That the fire you once had to explore, to learn, to try something new, begins to fade. And maybe you've felt that yourself. You've retired, your children are grown, and your days feel quieter and simpler. You find yourself watching the same shows, eating the same meals, going through the motions. Some call it peaceful. Others call it normal. But here's a quiet thought. What if losing curiosity, passion, and purpose isn't normal aging at all? What if still feeling excited about life is one of the strongest signs you're aging exceptionally well? That spark, the one that makes you want to pick up a book, ask questions, plan a trip, try a new recipe, or learn how to use that app your grandson showed you, that's not trivial. It's vitality. It's your mind saying, I'm still open. I'm still interested. I'm still here. And science backs it up. Studies have shown that older adults who remain mentally engaged and emotionally invested in life tend to live longer, with better cognitive function, stronger emotional resilience, and even reduced risk of diseases like dementia. Why? Because curiosity keeps the brain active. Hopefulness reduces chronic stress. And purpose gives the brain a reason to keep growing, adapting, and protecting itself. In simple terms, if you're still curious, your brain is still thriving. The brain, after all, is an organ that adapts constantly. It rewires itself in response to new experiences, a phenomenon called neuroplasticity. This doesn't stop at 40, 60, or even 90. The more new things you feed your mind, the more connections it builds, and the stronger those connections become. But here's the catch. Many older adults stop feeding their curiosity not because they don't have it, but because they believe they shouldn't anymore. They say things like, "I'm too old to start that now," or "What would I do with it anyway?" Over time, that belief becomes a habit, a shrinking of the inner world. Yet the truth is, you're never too old to be curious. Curiosity might be more important now than ever. So how can you keep that flame alive? The good news: you don't need a big project or a grand plan. You don't need to write a novel or go back to school. You just need to invite something new into your day. Try this every morning. Ask yourself one simple question: what do I want to learn today? It doesn't have to be something serious. It can be small, fun, lighthearted. What bird is that outside my window? How does sourdough bread rise? What's the history of my hometown's old post office? How do I finally use FaceTime to call my grandkids? Pick one question. Spend 10 minutes looking it up, asking someone, or even trying it. That single moment of curiosity turns the brain on. And when you do that daily, you're building a habit, not of doing more, but of feeling more alive. Another tip: surround yourself with energy. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room, but stay close to people who talk about ideas, dreams, books, music, and places. Join a small group, maybe a walking club, a church study, or even a neighborhood coffee circle. Curiosity loves company. Let me tell you about Dennis. Dennis is 88. He lives in a senior living community in Arizona. A few years ago, after his wife passed, he fell into a quiet kind of sadness. Days felt long. He watched the same TV shows. He stopped going out. He says now, "It wasn't depression, exactly. It was just gray." One day, his granddaughter gave him a beginner's watercolor set. "You always liked art," she said. At first, he waved it off. But the next afternoon, out of pure boredom, he opened the box and painted the view outside his window, a small tree bending in the wind. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. The next day, he painted again. Then again. Soon, he began trading painting tips with another resident. That turned into a weekly art circle. Then he started reading books about famous painters. Last year, he sold 5 paintings in a local market. Dennis says, "It wasn't about the art. It was that I started waking up with a reason to start the day." That's the quiet power of curiosity. It gives us movement inside. It doesn't have to be productive. It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to matter to you. And that brings us to the heart of it. Hope, curiosity, and drive aren't childish traits. They are signs of life. Signs that your spirit is not done yet. If you're still dreaming, still wondering, still asking questions, you're doing more than staying busy. You're staying awake. You're giving your brain, your heart, and your soul something to live toward. And if you've lost that spark for a while, if your days feel a little too quiet, a little too routine, it's okay. You can get it back. Truly. Start with one question. One new thing. One, "I wonder." You've spent your life working, raising others, carrying responsibilities. Now is the time to be curious for you. Not to prove anything. Not to achieve anything. But to remind yourself that there is still more ahead than behind. So pick up the paintbrush. Ask the question. Take the class. Plant the seed. Write the story. Learn the song. Try the thing. And remember this. You are not too old to begin again. You are just wise enough to know what truly matters. You've just walked through 5 quiet, often overlooked signs that you might not be aging the way most people expect. And if even one of them sounded like you, if you can still rise from a chair without help, remember the little things, walk with ease, sleep through the night, or feel genuinely curious about the world, then I hope you take a moment to feel proud. Because those aren't just signs of good aging. They're signs of vitality, of resilience, of a spirit that's still very much alive and growing. Too often, we're told that getting older means fading, slowing down, and stepping aside. But the truth is many people, maybe you included, are still strong, still learning, sand till becoming. And that matters. So here's what I invite you to do. Take one of these 5 signs and make it a part of your daily rhythm. Nurture it. Let it remind you that you're not done yet, that there is still so much life in you, not just behind you, but ahead. If you saw yourself in any of these stories, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment below, just a sentence or two. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to keep going. And if you know someone over 70 who's quietly thriving in their way, share this video with them. Let them know they're not just aging, they're inspiring. You're not alone on this path. We're walking it together, one strong, steady step at a time.